Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 584 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. John Lee. And if you want to hear a story about business solutions and asking for help, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's 584. I got Dr. John Lee coming on with me today from the great state of California. Super excited to have this chat, talking about business solutions, his consulting company, Alpha Omega, and then letting chiropractors know it's okay to find mentorship and ask for help. Before we jump into his story of how he got into this amazing profession of chiropractic, our big why. Why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? First things first is freedom of speech. Super important. That's what this great country is built on. And I think that we should all revisit that if we need to remind ourselves why freedom of speech is important. Then we go into family health freedom and medical freedom. Chiropractic is essential, let me tell you, for keeping families healthy and keeping people having freedom of choice on how they raise their families healthy. Thank you, chiropractic. Then we'll get a bit more philosophical. We go into BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. That's something very foundational to this profession. If you don't know what that is, go and search for BJ Palmer's last words. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you previously did. Even if you're a chiropractor, refresh yourself. Stop the interview, go check it out. Come back to the interview and then know that we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We also believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or physical gets adjusted, man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And it's pretty cool. And that's really what this profession is when it comes to philosophy and the science and the art. Dr. John Lee, welcome.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be fun to have a conversation with you today and to get your story. This is a good opportunity for you to reintroduce yourself to your friends, your family, your colleagues, your patients. And who is Dr. John Lee?
Sure. So I am a chiropractor who is actively in practice still, 21 years and part-time at this point, but, still love what I do as far as taking care of patients, seeing great things happen for them. Also do consulting for the last 5 years. So now I've been able to share my knowledge that I've gained from other mentors I've had, all the experience being in practice for so long. I'm able to now share that with chiropractors and honestly help them get to their dream practice a lot faster than it took me. So, so now I'm kind of juggling those two items right now, along with being a very busy family man. I've got 4 kids ranging from 11 years old all the way down to 3 years old. So very, very busy life.
Well, I thank you for taking some time and breaking away from the practice, the consulting and family to do this interview. 21 years, graduated from Palmer, Palmer in San Jose, right?
Yeah, Palmer West.
Yep, Palmer West. The journey happens. How did you first get introduced to chiropractic?
Sure. So it was by chance. I was 19, freshman year in college, and wasn't on the path to become a chiropractor. Didn't really know much about chiropractic, and like a lot of people, I got in a car accident. It wasn't terrible, but it was a pretty hard rear impact, and I felt fine. But then a week after, every time I turned my body one way, my mid back, there was a sharp pain. So, saw my local chiropractor. It was a great chiropractor, great manual adjuster. He took full spine X-ray films and really explained everything. Showed me exactly where my subluxations were, and got me better, and it changed my path. And believe it or not, ironically, my father was really urging me to become a pharmacist of all things, which is like the antithesis of chiropractic. And I was really glad that this chiro experience happened, because my first quarter of college taking general chemistry on the path to becoming a pharmacist, I hated general chemistry. I absolutely hated it. And I also hated envisioning myself being behind a counter, counting pills, fulfilling prescriptions, and seeing just sick people all day. Because, pharmacists don't typically see the sick people come back and say, thank you, I'm healthy, right? Whereas chiropractors do. And so I just saw that as I don't know, nothing against pharmacists, but I didn't see that for myself. So decided to become a chiropractor after that great experience, changed my major to a neuroscience and physiology major, went to visit schools, picked Palmer West early on, and that my path was set. And I'm so grateful I had that life-changing experience.
Isn't it fun to go back down memory lane sometimes and like see like where we've come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it just
Yeah.
kind of makes us appreciate like where we are today.
Yeah. And my dad and I joke about it now, because at first he was pissed. He was so mad that I was changing my path and not taking his direction. And the only reason why he picked pharmacy, he thought it was a very stable job, right? It's a typical Asian American path that, Asian parents set for their kids. But now, he's been a longtime chiro patient of mine, comes into my office for chiropractic care and adjustments. And now we joke that, hey, Dad, if you were coming in for neck pain, back pain, if I was a pharmacist, what can I do for you? I give you a pill. But now I could really, help you naturally. So we laugh about it now.
That's awesome. And the dynamics of a crash, you're saying that it wasn't like a big accident, but a lot of times people don't know the dynamics of a crash, that like when somebody gets hit at low speed, high amplitude, it causes the soft tissue in the body to take most of the damage, not the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people don't understand the dynamics of a crash, and it whiplashes the spine in a direction that, it's like taking a deck of cards and throwing it wherever it goes, and hopefully they stay in order. And that's what happens to our spine. But yeah, it's interesting that, a lot of times people get hit. I go out and do tons of marketing, and I'll meet people and they'll be like, oh, dude, I was in a car crash like 2 months ago and I don't feel right still. I'm like, well, what
Mm-hmm.
did you do for it? They're like, oh, went to the ER and they gave me muscle relaxers or these opiates. And I'm like, gosh, I'm like, did you ever see a chiropractor? And they're like, no, what's a chiropractor do? And I'm like, oh, geez. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when people do get into those crashes, they eventually, sometime down the line, find a chiropractor, even though as you and I, advocates and doctor, we would hope that they'd get in a lot quicker. We'd
Right.
hope somebody would like day one after they got in a fender bender or in a crash or an accident, whatever we want to call it, they would actually say, I need to go get an x-ray. I need to go get assessed and get an exam by a chiropractor to see what's going on with my body now.
Right. Right. And then so I can go deeper in the story, because when I was 13 in junior high, I had the typical scoliosis screening by the school nurse that came by. And I had a mild scoliosis I knew from like age 13 on. But the typical thing was be sent to an orthopedic doctor, MD. They checked me for maybe 6 months, fixed some X-ray, and they said it was nothing that they could really do or should do. But then when I saw the chiropractor and I saw that I still had scoliosis, then I realized I should have been seeing a chiropractor since I was 13 or younger. And I was a little bit mad that the medical community didn't tell me anything about chiropractic. And obviously, naturally, most of them wouldn't at that time. But yeah, it all was kind of connected that I really should have had chiropractic early on, not just when I got that car accident.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was 16 is when I started, and I was playing soccer, and I was wrestling, playing soccer, playing baseball, playing football, and I had a high school football accident where I hit somebody with my shoulder,
Mhm.
messed my shoulder up. Saw the athletic trainer. The athletic trainer's like, "Hey, we can get you X-rays, but you should go to Palmer College." I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. You can go to Palmer right across the street. My high school's right across the street from Palmer College. And he's like, you can go over to Palmer and get x-rays of your shoulder at a discount because, they do that at the student clinic. So I went over to Palmer and got the x-rays on my shoulder. They asked my mom, because I was 16, hey, can we do some x-rays of his spine? Check for subluxations.
Hmm.
So they take x-rays of my spine at 16, and then all of a sudden I start getting routine care at 16 years old going forward. So just like you,
Wow.
kids are intuitive. They
Mhm.
need. I'll be out there doing an event, doing screens, getting new patients for a chiropractor, and the mom will come up and say, "Hey, this is my daughter. She says that she has to come see the chiropractor. Can we get her in?"
Okay.
Like seriously, like
Yeah,
kids now are coming up with their parents saying, "Hey, we want to go see the chiropractor."
that's good.
So yeah, your intuition
Mhm.
at 13, my ability at 16, and now everybody that listens to this show with kids, um, get your kids checked by the chiropractor.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, more people will take that step for earlier on.
I mean, it's only gonna give quality of life.
Right.
It's like your dad want you to become a pharmacist because it makes you stable. Well,
Yeah.
we only want your kids to get adjusted because it makes them stable.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
from people that know better, that can give good advice. There's nothing in it for us except for having that kid have a better quality of life and a healthier upbringing. But let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about
Sure.
business. I know that you
Okay.
you you have Alpha Omega Consulting. You've been doing it for 5 years. When did you feel that shift happening? When did you feel that shift happening that you're like, hey, I'm gonna stop from full-time practice to taking on clients and teaching them what I've been learning?
So it was probably like maybe even like 8 years ago. 10 years, my wife, who used to work full time in my clinic as office manager and billing, she actually would like nudge me and elbow me like, hey, I think you should start to get into some consulting, because I would already have other chiropractors asked to come shadow the office and see how we operate, or call me for help and questions. So my wife's a great woman, and she saw the abilities and skill and talent that I guess she saw in me, and said, I think you should start to really explore this. And then it took me a while, because I always envisioned I was going to do this when I was old and gray. I would wait until I was like 55, 60 and not practicing as much. Then I'll start coaching people, right? But yeah, at about around age 40, I'm 46 now. Just the opportunities just started to come across more, and I realized I think I could do this, and I think I should do this. I think opportunity is knocking, and I should strike while the iron's hot. And so that's how I started to fully get into consulting and building out a program and platform.
That's it makes sense. It makes sense for people that figure out how to crack the code for success and knowing how to run a business to want to teach other people. So let's talk about best case scenarios, worst case scenarios. What have you seen when people are like, "Hey, I want to work with you"? What's a best case scenario that you've seen come in, and what's a worst case scenario that you've seen
Sure.
come in?
Best case scenario. There's been a few of them, but one is actually a doctor, Ashley Elmo, who I just actually officially brought on board to be one of our coaches. This was just last week, actually. So congratulations again to you, Ashley, if you're watching this. But we're really excited to have her on board. But she has probably one of the coolest stories. We started working together about 2.5 years ago. At the time, average practice, about 400,000 gross collections a year. And just in 1 year, I think she doubled to like 800,000 gross collections. And then after 2 years, she hit that $1 million mark, and she's still growing. So she's probably the fastest growth I've seen with one of my clients. And so that's best case scenario, right? But it does take a perfect combination. It takes obviously the advice and systems and training provided for, but it also takes a very special person like a Dr. Ashley, with the intelligence and the work ethic. It really is the work ethic, to be honest, and the drive and motivation, and to be able to implement things quickly that she's learning. So I'm not surprised that she's had huge, fast success.
So let's table worst case because I have a more interesting question, I think.
Sure.
Is it location dependent for a chiropractor to use your systems? Like, do they have to be in a big city? Does it work for somebody out in the middle of like nowhere? Like, what type of avatar works best within your system?
Honestly, it's been a big mix. So I've got the typical like big city like Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, but I've also had like right now currently a husband wife team Montana, rural Montana, where there's a lot of hunting going on, and nature outdoors. I've also got a doc in Canada, BC Canada, Terrace BC Canada, which is a rural part of BC Canada, and he's absolutely just at max capacity right now. His issue is trying to find an associate that would come out to that rural area. But I mean, he absolutely dominates on the internet now with the marketing stuff that we talked about. So honestly, the stuff that I've learned, it can apply to just about any demographic of an area.
That's really, really powerful. So guys and gals watching this, like, just know that it's what Dr. John's doing here is not location dependent upon a certain like population. It can happen in city and in the countryside. So that's awesome to know. I didn't know. So Alpha Omega happened from influence from your wife, said, hey, you should go do this. And what have you seen in the development with you now being the coach? I know you said you come from different consultants and you learn from Chuck Gibson. What have you seen like for you being the coach now?
I've seen that chiropractors come in all shapes and sizes and situations and skill levels and work ethics, kind of like chiropractic patients, new patients, right? When you're, especially if you're high volume practice and you're seeing like 30 to 70 new patients a month, they come in all shapes and sizes, right? And as their doctor of chiropractic, you really have to handle everyone the same with love and respect and listening to them and figuring out their problems and providing solutions and just taking wonderful care of them. Right. And I've realized that, chiropractors that are in business for themselves are similar. They come in varieties, right? And they're human beings. And so I have to now be, very, very versatile, right? And very patient like I am with my chiropractic patients. I got to be very patient with these chiropractors, and some are very easy and fast, like boom, 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 let's get it done. They're done. Okay, what's next? Others have a very, very slow pace, and I can't push them too hard because they get overwhelmed and frustrated, and somewhere in between. And so that's what I've seen. That I can't go into it thinking I'm only going to have this avatar or these types of clients, right? Because no, they come in all shapes. You can have someone who's barely collecting 100,000 a year, and they need help. Then you've got someone who's collecting 900,000 a year. They need all kinds of different help, different levels of help, right? So it's fun. It's fun though.
So what do you do? It like an audit process? You're like, hey, submit to me like these types of things, and I'm gonna like look at them, and then we'll tell you like what we need to do, like kind of like concierge style.
Yeah. So they fill out a new client application questionnaire and form, and so then I ask specific questions and what their current needs are, what their biggest needs, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they're looking for in a consultant, and I get their stats and numbers, what kind of practice they have, and then it's like being a detective in solving a mystery, So I got to figure out is it their systems, right? Is it their team? Is it their training? Is it the leadership? Is it the marketing? Is it the handling of accounting and finances? So yeah, it is pretty custom. And
I love this so much.
Yeah, once I can figure it out, then we just basically get to work. And then it really is up to the doctor, right? It's like being in Chiro school. Chiro school, you got to study and memorize, take tests. So what I found is the docs who really succeed, like they put in the work. And I have a term for it. I call it biz dev time, which is business development time. I tell new clients that if you expect to make a difference in your practice, you got to put in at least about 3 to 6 hours a week outside of practice. Like this means in the evenings, in the mornings, and weekends. And you can put in more if you want. And this is really going to determine if you're going to have success.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle. Yeah, I think a lot of it's the aptitude to do the work. And I always tell people no one will do your push-ups for you.
Right.
And you have to do your push-ups if you want them to get done. And I think it's the same way of spending time on things, even if it's things that we might not fall in love with. That sometimes I tell my team, you have to get good at blocking and tackling. Like if you're going to make a big play, you have to block. And if you want to stop a big play, you have to tackle. And those are the fundamentals that I make sure that people know that hey, this is won by offense and defense. We have to do both of these things. And I'm sure you get some clients, just like patients, you were saying, they parallel each other. You'll have reschedulers. You'll have no-showers. You'll have people that drift and just go away. And then you'll have the reactivations. They parallel each other quite similar, I'm sure. And once you start to understand the behavior of your clients, then you can be like, great, this is how we correct this, and just now be accountable for this one thing, and then we'll get to the next step. So really cool stuff. And I think, we were going to discuss asking for help. It's okay for chiropractors to admit that you don't have it all figured out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the ones that are quick to be humble and put themselves to be vulnerable and ask for help, even if it means just asking your chiro friend, hey, can I get some advice, some free advice? Just doing that is going to help you build your practice and make some positive changes. But, I've had probably a good 5-6 consultants and coaches that I've hired throughout the years with, I talked to you, before we went on, but, Charles Gibson was my first and most influential mentor, and really just put me on the right trajectory. And then even after that, hired several others, which all of them I learned something, right? But whenever I knew I didn't have this skill, I said, you know what, let me just go find the expert, pay them some money and learn, right? And it is absolutely what helped me build my practice to what it is now.
Yeah, anybody that I've met that's done well, they invest in other people for advice, whether it's for health, whether it's for business, whether it's for finances, whether it's for relationships. They are personal development, because the personal development angle usually has an attribute to each one of those other connectors. So family, health, wealth, what do we need to focus on? And a lot of times it's you have to hire somebody or mentor with somebody that has done this stuff before you. And, there's lots of people out there, but I think one of the hardest things is for people to find that match. Hey, who do I like to work with? Who do I want to be in community with? Who do I want to find as my mentor? What kind of management group or coaching group or, closing group do I want to be a part of? Because they're all out there.
Right.
So let's talk granular a little bit about systems. What kind of marketing do you like your clients to do? What do you coach them to do?
Sure. So I use what I call the marketing faucets philosophy, which is basically marketing sources or marketing pillars, just a different word. But I like to use the word faucets because I like to think that you should become an expert at marketing chiropractic to the point where you could turn off a faucet of new patients from a certain stream or source, and you can turn it off, or you can turn it up, speed them up, or turn it down, slow them down. And I teach my clients that you want to diversify, just like financial investing, 4 to 5 different faucets. If you're in growth mode, if you're trying to build your practice, you need at least about 4 to 5 different marketing faucets that you set up and develop and nurture and build. And then once you get to a very good level and you're doing practice, you can sustain it typically with about 2 faucets or 3 faucets, right? And then amongst that, you want to have what I call premium faucets of new patients and average faucets. Premium being obviously your patient referrals. They're coming and already knowing about you, what it typically takes and costs, and they're ready to go. Google searches, people who are in pain, actively looking for a chiropractor, they need someone and they find you on your website and they pick you. They're ready to go. They're going to close or convert at a high percentage. Yelp is very similar in my area, not in all states, but Yelp in some towns is as powerful as Google. Those are your premium. Then your average faucets are going to be, your screenings and your talks, which, obviously we're luring them in, right? And you've told me that you're very, very experienced with that. And it was a big part of my practice for most of my practice career. But your screenings, your talks, you're going to get them in. A little bit more challenging to close them, right? A little lower percentage, but it all is important to build and grow your practice.
I love that so much. Tiers of marketing. And there's either a higher quality or lesser quality, but you have to do all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I think people are going to get some good takeaways on today's interview with you about business. So plugging into the community, how do you like to stay connected to the community? I know that you said screenings are one thing, but what else have you done previously? What else do you coach your clients to do?
So, with my practice, we like to do twice a month in-house chiropractic orientation. And, truthfully, in my early years, I was super resistant to doing that. I didn't want to do it. Most of my clients now, majority are resistant. They don't want to do it. I've only got a handful that have actually, done the work and have done it now. But in doing it for so many years, what I found, this is one of the best ways to really teach the message of chiropractic to your new patients community, because let's face it, the vast majority don't understand chiropractic. They don't understand the vitalistic part of chiropractic and how the nervous system subluxation is for your whole health. So, we invite our new patients to sit in with us for 45 minutes. We feed them lunch or dinner, and we teach them chiropractic philosophy, subluxations, the dangers, the benefits of lifelong care. And what we find is that when we actually take the time to sit, and not everyone comes, maybe about half the patients come, but those who come, what we see is two benefits. One is they get the message, they understand chiropractic, the light bulb goes off in their head, and they're the ones that are transitioning from corrective care to maintenance care, wellness care very easily. And they're the ones that are typically thinking this is a lifelong thing. I got to do this for the rest of my life. Second benefit is they get their family in, right? So now they think, oh, I'm not going to just be selfish and keep chiropractic for myself. I'm going to get my kids and my spouse and my mom and dad in to care, and at least check for subluxations. So I think that's probably one of the best ways we actually stay pretty connected with their community. That we don't want patients just to come for 3 months of corrective care and just be gone. We want them to know that you really should be. Okay, people think you should have a family doctor, right? A family physician, a family dentist. You should have a family chiropractor. So we like to really give that message and teach them. So yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the best ways that we stay connected or teach our community, kind of in little batches at a time. We're talking about 8 to 10 at a time.
I think it's so valuable for people to hear this, because Reggie Gould used to give lay lectures, and if anybody really wants to know how to do that, YouTube Reggie Gould lay lecture, and you're going to be like blown away with like how he would just like explain chiropractic. There's a video that early on I watched called Chemistry of Life that he did. And I started to understand way more about when you correct a subluxation, what it has a downstream like connection to. And here's the faucet, like what does the subluxation faucet down? Like what flows from it? What does it have a correlation and connection to? Like there's so much. So if you get that education moment with a group of people that are already in your system, now you're basically educating them in a way that is fun for the doc. I mean, if you get out of your fear of like doing it, it can be fun, and you can really like inspire people. And maybe that's the next generation of chiropractors. Your patients are so like inspired by your message and your quality of a presentation that they're like, you know what, John, you're not going to pharmacy school. You're going to go be a chiropractor.
Right.
So that's also a lot of people I've met over time that were like, that have done new patient orientations like consistently. Those are the people that create the most chiropractors too.
Right. Correct.
Sure.
And I would say the few clients of mine that actually end up doing it, not a single one has told me they regret it. Every single one said, you're absolutely right. I see the value and benefit. I got to keep doing this.
Well, those offices also have CAs that become chiropractors
Mhm.
because they're a part of that culture now where they're sitting in and watching the doc like keep on telling these stories. And I do think it's a really great way to bridge into the community and get involvement and really honestly have more fun with telling the chiropractic story.
Right.
And yeah, the conversions happen. And like you took most of the words out of my mouth. Like somebody will come in and they're like, "Oh gosh, let's get the whole family in."
Mhm.
And I think that happens a lot with those.
Yeah,
So
so it doubles as a marketing faucet too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So really cool stuff. I know that we're coming up on the edge of our time with each other. We can extend a little bit if you have time, but I have a couple more questions. I just want to maybe go a speed round with you.
Sure.
Um, where do you see the path of chiropractic going as a profession? You don't have to tell me like maybe just in 5 years. Where do you see us going in chiropractic?
I see positivity, to be honest. Just in my 21 years of practice, I felt like the chiropractic profession has gotten better and stronger. Um, I think I know a lot of doctors have different opinions about places like the Joint, but honestly, it's good for chiropractic because it gets more exposure for people to get under chiropractic. Even these YouTube, cracking videos that there's, controversy of are those good or bad for it's getting attention on a chiropractic. So I see that because of all that, right? I see that the popularity of chiropractic is just going to grow and get better.
And the people watching those, the TikTokers and the YouTubers, um, those are the people with the crappiest posture. And they're gonna
Yeah,
be like, "My neck hurts, bro. I just watched a chiropractic video. Maybe they can help me." Or, "My
yeah,
posture stinks, bro. Like, I need to go see the chiropractor because all I do is watch chiropractic adjusting videos."
yeah.
I've met those people, and
Hmm.
and it's true. Like, they are so influenced by watching the the art that
Hmm.
then they're like, yeah, my back kinda hurts from watching so much YouTube. I should go see the chiropractor." So, yeah,
Right.
I mean
And then, for us subluxation based, correction based chiropractic, then we can educate the ones that come in, right?
mhm.
If they have this perception of, I just need that crack and I'm good, we could then educate them once they're a new patient.
Yeah, I mean, I just get so inspired talking to people about, like, how to make chiropractic better and,
Hmm.
what people's perception is in 2023. Like, what are people seeing? How is it trending? And you're right, like, you know, controversial, the joint. I'll tell people a really solid marketing strategy. If you guys want and you guys do x-ray and corrective care and you guys are like a higher like tier type practice that has different types of services involved with it, including adjusting, like go build a relationship with that joint.
Right.
Say, hey man, I shoot x-rays. If you have hot discs come in and you got like radiculopathy coming in, I got decompression. I'm a pro at helping people with disc issues. I have
Hmm.
state of the art 2020 imaging, digital imaging at my office. I'll bring them. I'll get them better. Send
Right.
your hard cases to me. I want them.
Yeah.
And I think that really a lot of these people are really receptive to referring over to people that have a stronger facility.
Right.
And the other part, I say, go build relationships with these urgent cares. Like,
Mhm.
make a list of all the urgent cares in your local community and go door knock, show up and say, "Hey, I'm Doctor So and so. I want to meet the clinic director. What's up? Hey, let's go grab a drink or lunch sometime. I want to see how I can help your people that come in here, like, not take so many pills, potions, and lotions. Like,
Mhm.
would you think that would be cool?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, we wanna save these people's money, and we don't wanna put them on more prescriptions." And they're like, "Great, send them to the chiropractor." So,
Mhm.
2 giveaways, guys. Go check out the joint and don't shun them. And,
Yeah. Honestly,
go check out your
it's
urgent cares and build some relationships.
for it's easy. You befriend them, you just go introduce, say hello, and you bring them some treats, to be honest. That's it.
Or call ahead of time and say, "Hey, what are your favorite coffee drinks?
Right.
I'm gonna bring coffee. Let's have a
Mhm.
quick 30-minute powwow. I wanna
Yeah.
tell you
We have
guys
we have a
all."
joint across the street, and they refer to us because of
Yeah.
that, because we went to go befriend them.
Mhm. And that's the
Mhm.
thing is, like, one of my early mentors would always say, "We're more alike than we are different." and everybody likes a little snack, or everybody likes a nice gesture. Everybody likes a gift, and it's a law of
Hmm.
reciprocity. Once you give something, even the smallest thing in the world, people want to give back to you. It's
Hmm.
like, even if I sold you something for $1, now you're a customer. Now I can sell you the next thing.
Right.
So once people get used to whipping their card out and paying for something with you, they'll do it again and again and again.
Hmm.
So get them to stay, pay, and refer. Good marketing stuff. Good business strategy. I love your vision of chiropractic is better than ever. Some of your heroes, man, who's inspired you to be the practitioner you are today?
Sure. So I would say definitely Dr. Chuck Gibson. We still like occasionally meet up for lunch. Owe him a lot of gratitude and just thanks. He really mentored me well, and you met him. He's very genuine, authentic. He's the real deal. Um, my father, to be honest, just watching how he connected his business, even though he was a chiropractor, just seeing how he managed his team. He had a big factory in South Korea for a long time before he came back to America. And I saw how he managed his team with just composure and calm and just non-emotional, but very professional. I adapted a lot of that to my practice.
I love it, man. Pay tribute to those that helped you become the man you are today. It's beautiful, man. Like,
Thank you.
it is, and it's really important for us to go back and reminisce sometimes, and like really anchor into like, who the hell are we?
Hmm.
And then we can pay it forward. I always, at this juncture, I've been lately telling the docs, like, hey, write some letters and send them out to people that matter to you and say thanks. That I know that, like, if you had a teacher out there that you had an impact on you, write that teacher a letter and send it back to them and say, "Hey, thanks for helping me become the doctor I am today."
Hmm.
Um, People love that stuff. I love that stuff. Random people will send me letters and say, "Hey, thanks for doing your show. You really help chiropractic." And I'm just always like, "Gosh, that's awesome."
Right.
Um, so let's close out with a miracle story. I know
Sure.
that chiropractic helps with subluxation, but it also helps with physical, chemical, and emotional stress.
Right.
And
So.
all quality of life is something that chiropractors really focus on.
Mhm. So yeah, probably like 7, 8 years into practice, there was one specific year that we definitely had three clear cases of ladies who were having fertility issues, and while under care at our clinic, they got pregnant. They conceived, and one lady had been trying literally for 10 years with multiple IVF treatments, and nothing was working, and she finally got pregnant. And so we tell that story at our chiro orientation,
Mhm.
and you know, for me, it was pretty obvious, right? They had nervous system interference somewhere in that pelvic sacral lumbar area. We just kind of did our normal thing. We X-rayed, examined, found the subluxation, started correcting them with adjustments, and nervous system wasn't interfered. Brain to ovaries, brain to uterus was now talking, and we had three miracles that happened that year.
That's just it. It's kind of cliche, but chiropractic gives you years to life and actually brings life out.
Hmm.
And it gives you life to your years. So like there's like a lot that happens with that. The Once the body starts flowing the way it's supposed to. Lots of babies happen because of good chiropractic, guys.
Absolutely.
Um, and yeah, like it makes all organs function better. And
Hmm.
when you take the pressure off the nervous system and allow the body to flow the way it's supposed to, it does heal naturally. And sometimes that's having babies.
Hmm.
Um, One of my favorite chiropractors of all time is Patrick Smith in Denver, Colorado, and he would always tell people in his new patient orientation, I'm Dr. Patrick, you're the patient, and I'm gonna be your chiropractor. You're gonna be my patient until one of us blows up." So I love his certainty, and I loved our conversation today about chiropractic. Is there anything I didn't ask you today that you're hoping to share with our audience?
I think we covered just about everything, but yeah, I guess the main message is, for any chiropractors who are out there, kind of maybe struggling, kind of on an island by yourself, not knowing what to do or who to ask. It doesn't have to be me. Just find out who you need to get mentorship from, whether it's paid or non-paid. And there's plenty of chiropractors who've done things ahead of you and have that experience. And most chiropractors are loving and willing to share with you. So I just urge for any chiropractors who are kind of challenged in practice right now, be humble, put the pride away, just go ask for help. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Dr. John. If people want to work with you or find out more about you, where can we send them to?
You can go to our website, alphaomegaconsulting.com, and there's plenty of information there, and you can reach out and contact me.
Go check them out, guys. alphaomegaconsulting.com. Your episode 584 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you so much, James. This was actually very, very refreshing, and I like how you do things. So appreciate it, James.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of fun, and it's important to collaborate and to share the secret and to share the message of chiropractic. So I'm going to close out by telling everybody, like I always do, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now, Dr. John.
See you. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.